We are live.
Yeah.
Let me just double check. Yes, we are live.
Right.
It looks like you are in the office, right?
Yes, I'm in office today. That's some work.
Awesome.
Yep.
How was it?
It was good. I'll send you the pictures of amazing food and what I did. It was good.
Sweet.
Yep.
And you also had like a big festivity yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's where I wore sari. It was Ganesh Chaturthi yesterday, the Indian festival. So yeah, I had a celebration.
Awesome.
Yep. How about you? How's your morning going?
It's going well. I already have my coffee and everything.
Definitely, you need that. Great. So what's up for today? Like, what are you gonna do?
We are going to learn about MuleSoft RPA with the training
Mm-hmm.
team, which is awesome. And they are also going to talk about a little bit of the trainings that you can do, how to do them, etc.
That's
Do we have people on the call already? Well, on the stream?
um, yeah. Let's see. Hello, whoever is joining.
Where are you joining from? What's your time right now? What's going on? Are you excited?
Do
What's
you have any
happening?
idea about RPA? Like this is the first time I'm gonna actually gonna see the live walkthrough with RPA and everything.
Yeah,
So
same.
yeah, I'm really curious and looking forward to it. Let's see.
I don't think I've ever seen an RPA technology before. Like, I know what it does, I
Yeah,
just haven't seen it.
yeah, we get a chance to see today, and that too from the training teams and the internals. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Who better than the training team?
Yes. So
All right, we have a person. Hello to the two pillars of MuleSoft. Blush.
anchor.
Thank you. All right, I think it was the only one. Well, thank you, Anchor. I guess we can get started then. Let me get Ethan and Nicole over here. Hey,
Hi. Hi,
how's it
Ethan.
going?
Hello. It's going well. I'm trying to figure out, this is my first Twitch stream. Are we able to comment back to people?
Oh,
Yes.
yes, they are. Well, they talk to us and I put it on the screen like this, and then you can just answer live. Hello from North Carolina. Hi, Kevin.
Evan.
Kevin.
Got it, but we can't type back in the comment section.
Yes.
Well, you can if you're on Twitch or on LinkedIn, but using
Yeah,
your own account.
right.
Okay. Got it. I got to get a Twitch account.
Yeah,
And you need
Oh,
to
it
switch
yes.
it just
to
takes a
MuleSoft.
minute. I just set one up.
Awesome. So, how are you doing, everyone? Are you excited? Yes, no. Well, it's 7:30 for you. I guess you're kind of asleep still.
Sleep.
Yes.
Oh, from Romania. Awesome. Hi, hi.
Hi.
All right, we can get started, I guess.
Yeah, maybe while Ethan is setting up, Nicole, do you want to share anything?
Let's see. Well, calling in from San Francisco Bay Area in California, and so it is 7:30 in the morning here. I have yesterday's coffee I'm working on. So, an
Yeah.
inspiration. Um, I guess I am going to talk about where folks can learn more about RPA. I'm not sure, Ethan, how are you feeling on timing? I can do that at the beginning, I can do it at the end.
Maybe you could show them a little bit later. I was gonna quickly show them the class, but you can maybe go into more details about our program and everything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I figured at the end would be kind of nice once people have seen the demo.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, should I add your screen?
Sure.
Right. We can see your screen.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And looks like we have a couple of people here. I'm monitoring the chat if anyone has questions. All right, so my name's Ethan Port, and I'm one of the developers of the RPA training course. So if you go to training.mulesoft.com, and you might have to create a login if you don't have one already. So this is a little tricky part. You got to go to training to create a training login. So then once you log in, you can search for all the available courses. And we have a couple of courses that are free to anyone, open to the public. So in addition to like our Getting Started with Anypoint Platform and Anypoint Platform Development Fundamentals, that's on the automation side of the house, system integration. Then we also have some other courses available, which is the MuleSoft Robotic Process Automation. So those are free, and then they have the rest of the catalog is listed there too. Those are either subscription or in-person training. But the MuleSoft Robotic Process Automation course, if you click on that link, it should let you sign up right now. So you can do that now. You can register for the class. And if you've already logged in, then that'll just automatically register you. And now the class has started. So that was really easy. It just takes a couple minutes to get started with the training course. So the training course is split up into 3 parts. The first part is kind of the getting started with an RPA process. So the course brings you through the whole life cycle of an RPA process. And I'll explain in a second what an RPA process is. But it's basically just automating anything that you would do by typing on the keyboard or using the mouse. So what I'm doing now, moving the mouse around or entering something with the keyboard, you can automate that with an RPA process. It's RPA stands for Robotic Process Automation. The robotic part is the algorithms that you use to chain together the steps that are replacing you working with a Windows system. So right now the software is only for Windows. And so that's another thing, is that you have to have access to a Windows system. And the automation, the robotic part, is also going to run automatically on a Windows system. You can use a virtual machine if you want. So in the course, the first thing we do is we start out with, how do you propose or evaluate something that you think would be good for RPA? And the MuleSoft RPA is built around the idea of teams, a team of people that work on the RPA process. So it's not just one person. You can have a bunch of people with different roles, and you assemble an RPA process team in the MuleSoft RPA Manager. And then this kind of walks you through getting set up and getting started. And then to actually design the RPA process, there's an editor that's available in the cloud, but you can also run the editor on your Windows machine. And then after that, we switch over to more of the developer side of it. So part 1 is for just any kind of business user that has some kind of day-to-day routine tasks that they do on the Windows machine that are taking up a lot of time. So it could be something really simple like logging into a couple websites and trying to just grab some data and compare them with each other. Or maybe you're taking things from a couple different websites and put it into a spreadsheet or something like that, or writing emails or reading your emails. Anything like that, that can be automated. And so you propose what you want the RPA process to do, and then you can set up in the RPA Manager users that want to do that. So I can walk you through the first step of that now. And that's what this training shows you, the details of what to do. So when you log into rpa.mulesoft.com, there's an organization that you're assigned to. So all the customers are sharing rpa.mulesoft.com. So in this case, we have a demo training site called MS Internal Training that I'm logged into with an example user. And so this user, Daniela, can go in and then under process evaluation, can click on process evaluation and can create a new proposal for an RPA process. And then that proposal is going to use this thing called a process matrix to ask a bunch of questions to try to explore if we think this is a good candidate for RPA or not. And the questions that you ask can be customized. So there's some out-of-the-box questions that we'll use now. So I'll try a variation of the process that we do in the training class, which is we're going to go look through all the possible MuleSoft meetups, and we're going to RSVP to some. And we're going to use a search string to look for a particular type of meetup. So in our example, we use stuff for MuleSoft Composer, but you could change it for Salesforce Composer or RPA or anything related to MuleSoft. And there's a default evaluation template, but you can create different evaluation templates based on how you want to assess whether something's better or not as good right now to spend the money on, because you got a team of people who are going to work on this RPA process. So it helps you with some of the budgeting. So you can split these RPA processes in different categories. You can always create new categories. These are the ones that I just created for the demo. We have a demo category and then like a finance group and a sales group. Different lines of businesses would often have different categories. And then MuleSoft partner, we're imagining that this is like a partner to MuleSoft that's trying to work with MuleSoft, who might be doing some of the work. So I could go in here to MuleSoft partners and I could say demo RPA process proposal. Automate some boring work. Say that. And then now it's going to bring up the evaluation. So one thing you could do is you could say, each time you do this process, how long does it take? So it could be something really routine, like just reading an email and then responding to that email. Or it could be going to a particular, logging into a system like the HR system and maybe checking your time card or checking your, health benefits or something like that. So maybe it doesn't take very long. Maybe it's just like, 10 minutes each time. But how much does that cost? Well, so you could kind of, this is kind of the fake part. You can kind of maybe think of like, what is your salary? How much do you get paid per hour? So let's say someone makes like $100 per hour. So then if it's 10 minutes, then you say that was, what is that? Is that a sixth of 100? What does that turn out to be? $15 or something like that. But how often do you do it? Well, what if you do it every day? So then we could say 30 times. That's already starting to get a little expensive, right? So that's the point, is it's a routine thing that maybe you do every day. If you could automate it so you don't have to do it anymore, that could end up saving a lot of money. And when you multiply that by all the people in your company, this can be substantial savings. All of a sudden it gets to like millions of dollars. So then I want to develop it. I've described what it looks like. This is where you could actually put all kinds of documentation to try to defend why you think it's a good idea to spend money having people develop the process for you. So this could be the IT department, but it's really, clicks, not code. So we're trying to make this product as easy as possible. So you don't have to be like a full-fledged, Java developer or anything like that to use the product. Hopefully we're thinking business analysts, people who are like semi-technical could still use the product, at least to a point. And then maybe technical people to help you with just the little pieces that are hard, but you can do most of the work yourself. So then there's all these qualifiers. And again, all these questions can be modified to whatever criteria you want, but they have a two-dimensional criteria. One is qualifying it, and then also what's the benefit. So, kind of financially in some sense, what's the benefit, and then also to qualify it. So qualifying the type of data and the type of work that we're trying to automate, because some things are better than others. So obviously something that's robotic is going to be something that is very structured. The data is easy to find and read. It's the same every time. Those are perfect candidates for RPA. If it's something that's less structured, you might have to go to a bigger tool like the other MuleSoft products, to integrate using maybe APIs or something that requires a lot more effort and lift. So, but these projects can usually be done in just a couple of days, typically. It's usually pretty quick, like maybe a week turnaround to get this out and ready and people using it, and then you can iterate on it. So it also works really good with like a sprint, agile kind of model. So is it unstructured or is it structured? So we prefer structured or digital data because the algorithms are going to work better for that. Is the data we have a lot of algorithms that can search for images on a screen, but that's more prone to error than if it's looking for actual text or numbers. Those algorithms tend to be more reliable. So if it's something that's more text-based, that's going to be better. Do you need a person? Do you need a machine learning or a real AI algorithm to make the decision? Or is it a rule? If it's more like a rule, it's going to be better for this automation. It doesn't mean that you can't do it, but it's going to be more difficult. When they say robotic, it's not full machine learning AI. There's some algorithms that kind of do some of that, but it's really a lot more kind of routine stuff that we're trying to do. And also, like the websites that we're going to be going through or the UIs that we're going through, are they the same every time, or are they changing every day? Is it dynamic data? So a lot of these algorithms are looking for pictures or images on a screen. And if that screen's always changing, that can make the RPA process reliable. So then you have to keep going in and changing it. So that's not as good a candidate for RPA. If the UI is changing all the time, an API is going to be better because the API is going to be structured data behind the screen. And so if the API will often be stable, usually like a vendor will provide an API, and that'll be okay even if things are changing. So we usually want it to be more stable. In terms of the benefits, and you can see how this moved the needle up, right? So it moved from the red zone up into the yellow and green zone. And now we want to see if we can move it this way. So we're going to say, is the output quality? So if what people are doing now is fine, why do you want to spend the money automating it? So what's the business impact by not automating it? So if everything is fine now, maybe it's not as urgent to get done now. You want to prioritize things for the urgent things, right? Like if everyone's spending their time doing this work and they're not doing their work because they're impacted, you don't have enough employees or you don't have enough time in the day. So, usually people are probably going to say it's urgent. That you need to improve it. What's the risk? So if you don't change it, is the risk to the business? Are you losing customers? Are you losing money? So those obviously are going to be more priority. And again, you can change these questions to whatever you want. And how complex is it? So really simple, boring routine things are really much easier to automate than something that's very complicated. Something that's very complicated that involves a lot of steps, that's better for an API. So, MuleSoft's whole suite is for doing really complicated things. RPA is kind of for bridging the gap. So instead of spending many months building an API or building an application network, this is a really quick hack where you can just kind of replace you with some software that runs. And again, the software is going to move the mouse around and it's going to type things in, but it also has image recognition. So we'll look at that in just a second. So looks like I've been able to get this RPA process to look like it's good. And then everyone is going to propose their RPA processes. So this will fill up with all the processes. And so you can look at the most, the ones that are like the quickest wins, and you could pick those off and you could go down through the list. So this is like a little bit of project management software. So now that I've saved that, that's the proposal. Someone else could then log in and decide whether to accept that and start developing it. So that's going to be either in my RPA, there might be a backlog of proposals that have been made. I'm not seeing it right now. There could also be a team backlog. It didn't advance that far yet, but right now, this is ready to be evaluated. Right, so someone needs to go in and approve the project, and then once it's approved or rejected, but if it's approved, then you go to the design phase. And so I'll walk you through what the tools look like for doing the design. And then I'll show you what the tools look like for actually building the implementation. And then the testing and production is all done here in MuleSoft RPA Manager. So in MuleSoft RPA Manager, you do most of the life cycle except for building. Building takes place on the Windows machine. And you have to do that because the screen resolution matters, the size of the screen matters. You've got to do that on the machine that's similar to the bot process that's going to run. You can't do that up in the cloud. So that's the one place where you have to install some software and do things. We also have some design software where you can capture requirements by having the user just go through the activities, and then there's an RPA recorder that will record everything. So let's take a look at that. So I've got this process that is ready to evaluate. And you could always rename the process. But more important, I can come in and I can approve it. So, and not just me, there could be other people that are allowed to come in and approve the processes. As soon as I approve it, you could say, do you want to have one project manager for this RPA process, or do you want to assign it to what they call a center of excellence? The center of excellence is just a group of users that are able to manage the project together. So why don't we just make it a single project manager in this case? So I have a user called Sarah who's going to project manage. You could add more details about what, what the details are about that. Maybe you could jot some ideas down about who else should work on the project, some information for the project manager. Okay, so now that it's been approved, the project's moved from the create phase to the approve phase. So now someone needs to start working on it. So if I look at my RPA, it's still not showing up in the backlog, but let's log in as Sarah and see what happens. Let's see if I can get that. So here's Sarah's view of it. There it is. See, it was assigned to Sarah. So Sarah comes in, starts her day, finds out, oh, there's some work for me to do. And Sarah is can say, I want to start the automation, or can reject it. If Sarah rejects it, Sarah says, I'm not the project manager, find someone else. I'm too busy. But if Sarah accepts it, starting the automation, now Sarah has to assemble the process team. So RPA manager is helping me figure out who's going to work on this. So I can go through all the people that are in my organization in RPA manager. And so there's a guy named Benno who's a designer. So I'm going to assign Benno to the design phase of the project. And then Daniela is a developer. And then, I didn't have time to set up all the users, but you could have other users who handle the test phase and the production phase. So I'm going to put Daniela in all the phases for now, but normally you'd have different people in different lifecycle phases. And then to advance between the lifecycle phases, if you want, there's a process board where people drag and drop the tiles across, or you could automate it. So you don't have to use that. You could have it automatically. So in order for someone to promote from design to build, maybe someone else has to come in with permission to move the tile. So you could have project managers that are controlling the lifecycle state. It's not just a free-for-all. And we could also automatically release tasks. All right, so that's the lifecycle team. You could possibly, so if there's this process applications, you can basically create cards for the type of applications that are going to be involved in the RPA process. Like maybe there's a database you need to log into, or maybe there's something, a system on the Windows machine itself that has to be running, like Google Calendar or something like that. You can create those cards and then you could check them off here. So it's not required, but it's kind of nice to tell people what software has to be installed on the bot. All right. And I'm kind of monitoring the chat to see if anybody asks any questions, but otherwise I'll just keep going. Okay, so here's what the process board looks like. So right now I'm ready to go. I'm in the development phase now because it's been approved. And then when it's finished being developed, I could say it's in progress. And then after I design the process, then you would complete it, and that's going to put it into the build phase. So in the design phase, you're using this diagramming tool, and you can do it up here in RPA Manager. You can capture requirements on the Windows machine with the recorder. And then when that's all done, that's kind of sketching out the flow of what everything should look like. When that's all done, then you can release it to build. So let's go through that process now. So in terms of the project management, I think I put it in the MuleSoft partners, right? So There's the RSVP to MuleSoft Virtual Meetups 2. I can open the process board where I can move these things back and forth. I can go back to the process. And now this is the diagramming tool. Right, so Sarah's diagramming. So this is what the BPM, so the kind of diagrams we make, it's a standard called BPM, which is Business Process Model Notation. And so it's, because it's up in a web browser, it's a little bit different than some of the UI things that you've seen before, but there's like a main menu.
Is he frozen?
Grab everything, move the whole diagram.
Oh, he's back.
Around. I could move things up and down, but I can also move things sideways. This is the really powerful tool, this tool here, the activate the create remove space tool. This is where if you need to add things in, you can move everything to the right over. It's a really powerful tool rather than having to select them all and move them back. So this can save you a lot of time. Okay, then in the tool, so the diagrams always start with a start activity. So I'll just call it start for now, very creative. But the interesting thing is that the start activity, when you build it, is going to have a thing called a workflow. And the workflow is like a sequence of steps. And then this is a bot task. And the bot task is what you build. This is where the programming happens. You can also add what are called user tasks. And a user task, see when I can move these things around. The user task is user task. And so the user task might be side. Oh, in our case, it's going to be the type of meetup that you want to go to. And then I can connect this over here. So you see this diagramming tool. This is how you build out your flow. And then you end when you're done. So this could be navigate to meetup site. This could be you want to open a browser and then automatically navigate and click through some links to get to the right page that you want to get to. Okay, so that's your first diagram. One thing you could do, I'm probably going to go a little over my time. And then I could save this. So this is going to save it up inside MuleSoft RPA Manager. I could import a BPM file from my computer, so I could replace this with one that I already have. And you could record the BPM end. So this is the interesting part here, is using the recorder. So let me go back to, this is a Windows machine that I have. So if I do this on my Mac, it's not going to be as interesting because I can't run the software on my Mac. I have to go into a Windows machine like I am here, and then log into MuleSoft RPA Manager. And I got to remember the password. Oh, did I forget the password? Let me try something else.
I had a friend that used to save all of her passwords in a notebook. All of them.
Yeah. Like the fact that you have any password memorized is impressive.
Right. So, oh, I saved them in the browser. I just cheated. So here you can see all the RPA processes that have been set up, and I set one up ahead of time. And so if I go back to the design phase, this is what you do in the class. You build this whole RPA process. And then there's no documentation currently, but what's cool is you can actually, oh, it's not letting me. There's usually a button here for opening this in the RPA recorder. And so there's the RPA. So the MuleSoft RPA recorder is going to let you can, if you take the training class, you'll see more about it, but you can start the recorder, and then it's going to have a menu down here, and it lets you capture. You can take screen captures, screenshots. So the first thing would be like we said, it was get meetup type from user. And that could be a user task. Okay, and then you could say after that, I want to go to a bot task. And this could be navigate to, it's going to be this first one down here, open Chrome and navigate to MuleSoft Community. Okay, and so now you actually want to do it. So this has started the task, so I could close this window and I could actually do it. So I could do Command R, and I could type in a command like Chrome incognito mode. I can open up Chrome in incognito mode. With the right command, I probably want to make it full screen. And then I want to navigate to like the MuleSoft community. So type in this, I could type in this URL. And then when I'm in the URL, then you could make a note for yourself that says, find a meetup link and click it. And I could take a screenshot. I could take a screenshot of an area or the full screen. I could be lazy and just say full screen for now. And then I could say that we're going to tell the developer how to name these variables. So meetup type, that should be an alphanumeric thing, and maybe the default is composer. I want to look for all MuleSoft composer meetups. Now the recorder started again. So then I can I could scroll down, and I could click find meetup near you. Right. And then now it looks like there's another step. So if there's another step, I can add another manual step, say now find the demo training meetups. Right. So we're not really programming. We're just the user's just doing what we want them to, that they want to be automated. Right, so they're just clicking through. They're like browsing through. They could be scrolling down with their mouse. Right? Then they could be looking for this link and clicking on it. So when I click on the link, that's actually going to take a picture of that. So that's all been captured. So now, for now, let's stop the recorder. And when I stop the recorder, see it generated this series of recordings. And if I save this back up to RPA Man, or if I open it up in the editor, right, in the editor, I can see all the documentation that was captured. So every user action got captured, and it takes pictures of every you click the mouse, and it captures all the keys that were typed in. And this is what you want to automate. Okay, so then you can actually, with this recorder, you can merge. So the recorder always does everything in a row. And remember, I was making a diagram that had more structure to it. It was branching and moving around. So you can merge those diagrams together. You'll see that in the training class. Then you can upload it back into RPA Manager. Right. So if Danielle has been working on this RPA process. Oops, let's see what happens. So I've actually gone all through the whole life cycle, and I've deployed this into production. But if you ever wanted to go back, you can go back to testing, and then you can go back to build. And when it's in the build phase, then it can be worked on on the Windows machine. So on the Windows machine, just to wrap this up, let me just quickly show you what the builder looks like. I can open up MuleSoft RPA Builder. All right, so here's MuleSoft RPA Builder. You can log in as a user into the repository. So I'm logged in as Daniela now. And then I can open up, and it warns me, this is really important. It says, hey, this was first built with a big monitor. Your screen resolution is lower. If you do that, all the geometry is going to change. So all the implementation that was already built, it might break. So you're gonna have to go through and check it. So you can say yes or no if you want to change the resolution. So I'll say no for now. And it's warning me that if I download this newer version, all my local changes will be lost. Do you want to download the process? I'm going to say no, because I spent a lot of time already getting this working. So this is the builder. So just really quickly, what makes up the internals of an RPA process? This is where it gets a little trickier. So basically, there's only like 6 or 7 things that do most of the work. Most of the time. So if this opens up, you can see there's a toolbox, and the toolbox has all of these different automation elements. But you really only use like 8 of them. So it looks kind of overwhelming when you first see it, but you can really get most of the work done with just like 6 or 7 of them. And you can make them your favorites. So my favorites here, these are the 6 or 7 items that you use over and over again. So for example, to open Chrome and navigate to the MuleSoft community, this was a run program wizard. So this basically does Windows R on your machine. It opens up that little window, and then you type in the location of the application you want to run, and then any parameters. So remember, I said incognito before, but you could also say start maximized at this URL, and I can test it. When I test it, I can see that it's not actually going full screen, but at least it started the program for me. And this unit testing is really important. So you can test every step, but then I can also test the entire, this is called a workflow. You can do some initialization. You can wrap things up. This gets a little more technical, but the point is I can run the whole workflow, and it opened the web page for me. So it's working. Then you can skip ahead to the next one, which this is saying scroll the mouse down. This is the really cool part. You can search for a word in the screen. So this is what replaces your eyeballs, right? So along with moving the mouse and typing things, these algorithms here are the robotic part. This is really the heart of RPA, are these couple of tasks, either image search, and we have another one which is called a search pattern. And it has all these parameters. So this is where you can adjust to allow for a certain number of false positives or false negatives. So it's really critical here that you adjust this down often, and then I can test it to see if it's working. If I test it, see, it failed because it didn't find the word find, right? But that's because I actually probably need to scroll down in the web page. So, okay, a little bit. And then I think I'm going to wrap it up after this, but this is kind of what you do to develop the applications. Let me see if I can find this. Right, we need to, for some reason I'm losing my mouse, but what you want to tell it to do, you want to tell it to scroll down a little bit so it can find a meetup near you. Now, if I try to run this again, with some luck, it should work. So if I test this again, see, it went from 0% to 93%. So it found the word. Now that it found the word, the location that it finds the word, that's called an anchor point. This is really important. So once you have an anchor point, I can use that anchor point in the next task. So the next task is a really simple one. It just says click on something, but do it relative to that anchor point. Right? So relative to that word find, I want to move this many pixels over and then click on something. I could always say start to recreate and see how, even though I've moved the window up and down, it was able to, this is the anchor point. This top corner here is the anchor point. And then I'm going to click to say where I want to click, which is click on this link. It could be anywhere in the screen. And then that captured that anchor point, and it captured that event. Okay, so that's all you do. So that's RPA is mostly just moving the mouse around, looking for something, moving the mouse some more, clicking on the mouse, typing in the word training. In this case, I'm going to do a find. So I do Control F and then type in the word that I want to find. That's going to simulate you. So after I've clicked on find a meetup near you, I want to find the word training and see how that automatically moved the window. Instead of scrolling with the mouse, it moved exactly to highlighting what I want to click on. And that gives me an anchor point. So then now I can use a find image and then I can click on that. So that's most of what you do with RPA is just moving the mouse around, typing stuff in, finding something, an anchor point, and then clicking, and that's it. You can teach this to non-technical people, right? So that part, I think we found that kind of business analyst type people can do that part of it. And then there's always going to be like a couple tasks that are a little too tricky. And so that's where you might have a small team of developers that work on all the RPA processes. They might be part of IT. But probably like 80, 90%. And then also, even the non-technical people, they'll get more technical over time. Right. So I think like the top 8 tasks, I think anybody can learn how to use that. There's a fancy one called OCR, optical character recognition. So I can actually just type in, so the user could type in the word composer, and now I could search for the word composer without having to hard code it. So really like the RPA, the people that have been working with RPA from Service Trace, they tell me that you can do most of the work with just this. And it's always adjusting those little sliders. Like instead of 92%, you make it 88%. It's all this little nitpicky work like that. But it's totally trainable. So our classes, like in 4 or 5 hours, you can train yourself to learn the product. And we're still waiting to get feedback from people. But we're really excited about this product because it's the last mile of integration. So instead of having to spend $1 million building an API, you could spend, maybe it's like a couple $1,000 or maybe even $1,000. Like if you build this what if you can build the RPA process in 2 hours and it's replacing this work? It might only cost a couple $100, including the hosting fees of having MuleSoft RPA Manager. And of course, you can copy these and reuse them. You can build templates, you can build libraries. So as you incorporate this in the business, it's a skill that everybody can learn how to use. So yeah, we're super excited about this. We think it's really going to help bring these technologies that don't have, like older technologies that don't have adapters, that don't have connectors or APIs. You can still use them in your integrations. The downside, of course, is that it's slow. This is like a person doing it. So it takes seconds to open the website. You got to wait for the web page to, stabilize. You got to click on things. So these processes take minutes to run, just like it takes you minutes to do it. But it's still faster than you doing it. It's still probably going to be 10 times faster than if a person was doing it. And so it's still saving you time and money. It's, just to put it in perspective, this isn't the end goal of your integration, solutions. You're not going to run enterprise software just with RPA, but it's an important piece of it. It's just like the commuting when we used to have to commute to work. It was like that last mile was the hardest thing. That's where I had an electric scooter or something, and I was dragging the electric scooter on the train with me. It's that last piece which is hard. And so we think this solves that. I like to call it the last mile integration problem. Okay, so that's it for me. And I'll turn it over to Nicole, who will show you a little bit more about how to get trained.
Perfect. Thanks, Ethan. Well, Ethan was really the star of this show. That was an awesome demo. And I'm trying to think about if I could automate some of my simpler processes at work, what would I do with all of that free time? Would I take up the hobbies that I put off because I said I'm too busy working, like finally learn to golf?
Yep.
Or realistically, would I just do different work? More likely.
I feel like I have the opposite problem. Like I try to automate so much that I don't even know if it's even worth it anymore.
You're automating something that you have to do one time. You're like,
yeah.
I know the first thing that came to mind, my least favorite activity is pushing things through our budget and procurement system. I was like, oh, is that too complicated to automate? Potentially, because it's a little bit different every time. I know Ethan has dropped off to go to his team meeting. I appreciate him being a little late to that to do our demo today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm just going to do a quick recap. We can actually start with what Ethan was talking about, just in case you all want to dive into the training, learn more, send training options to your team, to anyone who's interested in learning about RPA. So I'm going to guess most of the audience on here is technical and potentially, already a part of our community, maybe has a MuleSoft training account. So one of the fun parts of being an acquisition is that we now have, a couple of different learning platform options within MuleSoft and Salesforce. And so we, of course, want to make it super easy for those who have worked with MuleSoft training in the past, are used to logging into their training accounts to access their certifications, self-paced, instructor-led courses. And so what Ethan was showing you all, the course that he actually played a really key part in developing, is on our training.mulesoft.com. We have our course catalog, and we have getting started with robotic process automation front and center here in our overview courses. Of course, the garbage truck is coming outside my apartment right now. So here you'll be able to see kind of summary, objectives, same format as we have for all of our other training courses. Just like all the self-paced courses, this is free. You just need to create a training account to register. And what Ethan also alluded to, but I know for myself, trying to learn RPA, I've had to go over this multiple times, is that the RPA lifecycle has 5 key phases. So starting with evaluation and design, and those are phases that are really the best to get your business teams on first as well. Pretty easy for a business user, an analyst, kind of anyone to use. And those are in the RPA manager, the RPA recorder. And then the third phase is really the build phase. And that's, more for an RPA developer role. And that's going to happen in RPA Builder, which Ethan showed. And then fourth and fifth phase are really the test and production. And that is targeted towards an IT audience. And with these 5 phases, that is kind of how our courses and our Trailhead content is structured as well. So if you go in and actually log in, I'm just going to show the public facing version here because I'm not going to do the password dance for you all. But you'll see that those phases are how we've also structured the course to really mirror how the product is designed to be used. So that's the option for those who want to work on MuleSoft training. As I mentioned, we are now trying to put more of our learning content across Salesforce learning platforms. So we also have basically the same content on Trailhead. So this is really our core center for learning RPA. We're working on getting this into the training navigation. It's a little bit of a process, but I will stick this in the chat at the end, or maybe Alex, you can flash it up on the screen. But this is really where I've gone through and listed all your options. And so whereas our self-paced course on MuleSoft training has every part of the RPA lifecycle bundled into a single course, the way Trailhead works is that they chop everything into much smaller pieces, and then you kind of get a gamification. You get a fun badge for every module you complete. There's trails that are made up of 3 to 4 modules. And so this is an option for going through the training as well. Thank you, MuleSoft community, for flashing that up there for us. So if you go here to the Explore More, you can also access this directly through Trailhead, but we have a full trail mix of 3 trails. And so this content is basically the Trailhead mirror of the MuleSoft training content. The only differences, and I've actually gone and read through both, I would say the MuleSoft training self-paced course has the walkthrough feature. It's a little bit more hands-on, and those pieces were kind of pulled for a large part from the Trailhead content. But if you are on that road to Ranger, I know you can see I'm still on my journey, then this will get you points. You'll get these fun badges for every module you'll complete. So that'll get you like 12 or 13 badges at the end of the content. If you're really ambitious, you can do both. But again, Trailhead content and MuleSoft training content basically covers the same material. So I'd recommend just choosing one or the other. And then the last piece I'll share with you all before I turn it back over to our lovely host is that, if you're a MuleSoft customer, prospective customer, or a partner recommending the solution to a client, we sell RPA as an automation bundle with MuleSoft Composer. And so we've also made sure to feature our Composer training content here. So this is also hosted on Trailhead. But I think really critical is to have business teams and end users really learn MuleSoft RPA in conjunction with Composer, because we see, success as using both products together. And so I've linked that here as well. You can see on this profile, I haven't completed it, but don't worry, I usually read it before it goes live. So I'm right there with you. And if you all want to go through this, tag me on LinkedIn or anything when you get your badges. I love seeing you all going through and learning and I've got to finish this officially as well so I can get those points on my platform. And that is all I had to share. So, Akshata, Alex, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was so informative, and I'm definitely gonna go back and get the trainings done.
Yeah.
Thanks to Ethan as well. I mean, there's so much more. When I actually saw the training, the capturing stuff, I was like, it reminded me of the test recorder. But there is so much more to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a question for you, Nicole. Is there any certification for this?
There is not at this time. The team is, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say. There's something in the works in the future, but as of today, current state, there isn't a certification.
Cool.
Awesome. And
Awesome.
also, Ethan's ghost said something. I forgot to mention the course has student files with a lot of starter and solution files. Oh yeah, for each part of the course.
Wow, great.
It's in the resource tab.
Thank you.
That's true. That's another benefit of doing it on MuleSoft training is there's always downloads and walkthroughs, and it's both more complex, in my opinion, the UX to get through the course, but there's also just a little more meat to the bone there. Whereas when you're going through it on Trailhead, it's a little fluffier.
Yeah, we can also go back to the files and refer them in future as well for reference. So that's one advantage.
Yeah, and I believe it stays with you, like in your account forever, right?
Yeah,
It does,
it's
yeah.
like one place for everything.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm definitely gonna try out RPA. Let's see if we get access, so we can do some Twitch streams in future.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know.
I mean, when he was showing all those automation stuff, recording and all, I was like, wow, this is like so much more.
It looks
And he said
so
it right,
cool.
actually, the last mile of integration. That could be the last mile. Let's see.
I know.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also love because Ethan is so technical. He's worked at
Yeah.
MuleSoft for over 7 years. He's always like, yeah, okay, what could you train your business users to do? They could probably do this part. This part's too complicated for them. I'm like, I appreciate the honesty, Ethan.
I also loved like all of his passion. You could feel that he really liked the product.
Yeah. And it shows proper use case, like how you can like subscribe to meetups and stuff, like RSVPing for the meetup.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing too about he's a principal curriculum developer, is that they work with the product team as the product team is building the product. So he's seen like iterations, early stages. Like I think he has that passion because he kind of sees the product growing up and being built. And I'm sure he sees a lot of versions of the product that don't work well or like have issues. So in a way it's like he's seen it grow up and mature to what it is now.
Yeah. Oh, Anchor says thanks. Alrighty. I think that's pretty much it, right?
Yep.
Sweet.
So,
So then,
yep.
yeah, for the next stream, I think we will have Bikalp Balia, MuleSoft ambassador as well. So exciting. I still don't know what he's gonna do. I just know that he booked it.
Yep.
But I mean, that's the whole thing about this. We don't know what we're doing until we start doing it.
Actually, yeah, I can attest. It's my first live stream. Very candid.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it, says Manik. Yeah, I also wanted to see it. I was so curious about it. Sweet. Alrighty. And I think that's Bikalp is our last one that we have scheduled so far. So what was that noise? Was that me?
I don't know.
All right. Well, if any one of you wants to appear on a Twitch stream with us, then just let us know. We're available on Slack, or you can send us a message in LinkedIn or whatever you prefer, and we can try some stuff out.
Yes. See you next Thursday, same time, same place.
Yes, exactly. Oh, and also a reminder that all of the recordings are in twitch.tv/MuleSoft community. So in case you missed any one of these, you can just go there and all of the recordings are there. Awesome.
Yes.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Nicole, for coming. And Ethan's ghost.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having